Hello, and welcome back to Riff and Tear, where we rip apart the huge guts of music to see what makes it tick. In this video, we'll be looking at Unchained Predator from Doom: The Dark Ages. This is probably the most famous track, as it was the music that played over the teaser trailers as well as during the first level, although it doesn't really seem to get a chance to get going. Usual YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and forge currency in the name of the algorithm gods. If you want the sheet music for this and all the other Diatonic dissection videos for free, then head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/diatonicdissection. There's a link down below to save you trying to spell it. Unlike From the Ashes, you don't need a 9-string for this one. I will be using a 7-string, but you can do this on 6-string as well. Tunings are on screen. There are a lot of synth interludes in this track, so I won't be talking about those as I still have no idea what I'm doing with synthesizers. The last video in this series, link up above, had a very long intro, and I think that did have an effect on the watch time. So we're just going to get straight into it. The tempo is 105 BPM, and I think that the key is B flat minor. Not that it really matters with this kind of music, but still. I think it may have been written with the Phrygian mode, as it has a flattened 2nd degree but not 5th like From the Ashes. The first two sections don't have much going on in terms of guitar and drums, but in section A we see the theme that will keep appearing throughout the track. Section B has a synth part that acts as a precursor to the main riff. Now, section C, we finally get started. The guitar is playing the main riff, but there is an important thing to note about accent and muting. After the first chord, you have 2 notes on the bottom string. The second one needs to be accented and unmuted, as the riff would lose a lot of its character if it's not there. Here are examples of the riff played properly, and without the accent in question, you can hear the difference. In the 8th bar there is a twiddle, but it's hard to make out the end of it with the production being so dense, so I had to take a bit of a punt on what the final note was. There is an extra guitar part that plays the theme that was at the start of the track. More of the usual metal drummer parts, but it's hard to tell with the production whether or not there is a floor tom hit on the 1st and 3rd beat to give it that extra oomph, so I've included them anyway. Keep an eye out for the 30-second note flourishes on the bass drum, as well as these small extra fills using toms. Section D is only 4 bars long before a synth break. The guitar is just playing through the first 4 notes of the scale being used and a tiny bit of the main riff. The drums are playing something very similar to Section C, but there are snare hits on every downbeat, and it finishes off with a 30-second note flourish and a quick fill. I don't know if I'm hearing things in the production, but there seems to be a random bell sound in the second bar, so I've included that as part of the drums. Several times throughout the whole Dark Ages soundtrack, you'll get to channel the Gent Forefathers Meshuggah, and this is one of them times as you can channel their classic blues. You'll be playing a rhythm that goes by many names: Herta, Swiss Triplet, or the Swedish Gallop. These could also be equally awful euphemisms. The rhythm consists of 2 notes, followed by 2 notes that are twice the duration. Here is a demo on guitar. The guitar part involves a Herta on the downbeat of 1 and the E of the 3rd beat, 16th notes being counted as 1 E and O. How you pick it is up to you, but you may end up having a Herta on the upstroke, so it could take a bit of practice. There is a quick bunch of notes in the 4th bar of Section E. Again, with the production being as dense as it is, it's slightly difficult to hear the whole thing, so I have to guess the ending. New riff time. Well, a variation on the main riff, but we've already done the confetti, so let's pretend. The 4th bar of this section is my favourite part of the whole track, as it contains some movements that wouldn't be out of place in a tech death track, and sadly it only appears here and never again. The drum starts out in Section F pretty simple, just following the guitar with the kick. However, it starts to become more complicated rapidly, with some 30-second note flourishes on the kick following the cool riff. The rhythms of this section remind me very much of an early to mid 2000s metalcore breakdown, so with some tweaking I've managed to make it into something like that. afraid the guitarists among you are not getting away unscathed, as we see in section G the use of polyrhythms. The guitar part is playing every 3/16 notes, making it a 4 against 3 polyrhythm, 3 being the pulse and 4 being the notes. Here is a demo on guitar to try and explain it. One note is playing groups of 4 and the other is playing groups of 3. Now, with the maths out of the way, here is the guitar part. Oh yeah, be aware that in the 4th bar has a quick 30-second note burst and some chromatics. The drums are fairly simple for section G, but the final bar is a bit more complicated, channeling sugar with some Herta variations on the kick. Nothing going on in section H, so here is a short compilation of my favourite weapon, the Railspike, ragdolling enemies and tearing heads clean off. For section I, the main guitar is just doing some held power chords, not much else to say. The extra guitar part is doing the theme again, this time with chords. To save you having to jump to the bottom of the neck, I use a 4th chord at the 7th fret, so it's in the same area. drums are playing a very one part, with the china being hit on the first and third beats rather than every beat. Like section F, the part gets more complicated towards the end. It's just synth for section J, and here is a transcription of that part onto guitar. Section K isn't the final section technically, but it is the last section that features clear guitar and drum parts, so for the purposes of this video, it's the last section. We return to the main riff for a final send-off. There is a 2-bar pause, and then we finish off with something similar to section D using ascending notes. As this section is a repeat of the main riff, there isn't much going on with the drums that hasn't already been said. Just be careful with the final flourish on the kick drum. And that's it, another piece of music stretched beyond recognition into detailed analysis. Do all the usual YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and if you want the sheet music for free for this video and all my other videos with Diatonic Dissection, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Diatonic Dissection. There is a link down below. Thanks for watching if you're still here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!